So hello and welcome to another episode of Rebel City Podcast. This is episode 96, 97, somewhere like that, approaching 100. Might get there before the end of the year, might be the first one of 2021, who knows. This week me and Matt caught up. It was good to catch up. We spoke about COVID-19 vaccine that's been approved, some of the scepticism. We spoke about Brexit. We spoke a wee bit about Celtic and what the fuck is going on at the club and advocating for fan ownership. We also had a catch up about some of the SNP NEC election results and what that meant, and sort of asking where are we with GRA. And then we spoke about our usual sort of recommendations and actually come up with quite a good list of stuff that people could watch if you're bored. Thanks for anybody that's listening to the podcast. We're seeing good growth, especially in America. We'll get the Spotify statistics through for the end of the year, and we're seeing some great numbers. So thank you very much. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcast, and enjoy the show. So we'll just start here, mate. How's life? Has it been 2 weeks since we last spoke?
Probably something about. Well, I mean, we've always been speaking on text and that, but I like this definitely. It's cool. I'm just settling in, getting back to work. I think put a lot of pressure on getting back to work whilst I was off, that has actually led to a bit of frustration that things don't move a bit, quicker. No, I don't think I've anticipated quite how much has changed in the time that I was off compared to, where we are now. So it's been quite a bumpy start, shall we say, getting back out into the world. Triggered a wee bit of anxiety in recent days and stuff like that, but managing it as we always do, you know what I mean?
Right. Aye, man, I can't imagine. I mean, fucking, what are you talking, March, October, November, December? You're talking 9 months. 9 months is a long time in a workplace, man. A long fucking time. But I can't imagine. Thankfully, I don't need to go back to work, if that makes sense. Obviously, recently becoming a freelancer, but also what I noticed was during tier 4 meant nothing for me, because I'm I still need to make money here. You know what I mean? And I've not been self-employed long enough for me to be getting any kind of benefits. So I mean, recently I applied for universal credit, and I was going through similar anxiety bouts of going, I shouldn't be claiming this and I shouldn't be doing this. And then I think about, well, for the last 9 years of my life, I've been making at least over 40k a year, and I've been paying so much money towards the tax coffers that it's well, you're going through a fucking global pandemic and try to transition to being self-employed. Take whatever you can fucking get.
Absolutely.
And I got a phone call for the job centre, and she pretty much said the exact same thing to me, because I just said, look, I'm, just explain the situation. She was like, fucking take what you can get, mate. So hopefully the DWP don't hear that and party job centre gets their balls kicked. But we've talked about this with other guests in the past as well, is that these aren't they're pitched to us in the media as entitlements so that we feel bad about taking them, but these are contributions that we've made over an entire lifetime of working. So no, you should absolutely seek out whatever, additional support's there when it's needed. You know what I mean? That's exactly what it's there for. Absolutely. Good news is last week I went and had a meeting about hiring my own practice. And that might sound fucking massive. It's only 10 hours a week. I'll have a room at Charing Cross in the city centre come mid-January, early February. Which I'm buzzing about, to be honest, mate. I've had a friend who's basically a client, and she rents a flat in the West End that she turned into a sort of personal gym. She rents it off of one of her pals, and the place isn't in great nick, but 2 of the rooms are in decent nick, and she's been letting me use the spare room there to get people in and out recently until the tier system changed. But I'm like, I do kind of want a business address. So I went and seen a wee place during the week there, and I am middle of January, or they were saying maybe late February, because they're getting some renovation work done. It's basically 6 wee rooms in what used to be a tenement building.
They already specialise in that type of stuff. I think I know the place that you're talking about. I've obviously looked them up in my own research and stuff like that.
So I'm looking forward to that.
That's brilliant, mate. I'm glad to hear that. I know it was part of what you were talking about as the redundancy came in and stuff like that. So it's good to see it moving.
Aye. I mean, the big thing about the universal credit is that a lot of my redundancy's gone on just try to live. But as that's sort of just before lockdown, just before tier 4, my dipping into my redundancy was coming down as the money that I made went up. Mm-hmm. So I've got a wee bit of a cushion left there, but if I hadn't applied for universal credit, it would have been gone come the 1st of January, and then I'd have been getting into the new year probably applying to become the store manager of the Sky store that's about to open in Buchanan Street. And actually what happened with the practice was I walked by the Sky store and I instantly went onto the website, see if there's a job up, and looking at the jobs, and then I was like to myself, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back to being a retail manager. I know that I was looking at it, I was like, Sky are just opening places, it's exciting. They'll probably open more places, I'll probably have a chance at regional and all that. And then I was just like, just remember your happiness. Do you know what I mean? Aye. So then I decided to have a wee Google and then just go, no, do you know what, I'm going to double down, because it's been really successful so far. It's just that obviously with like Corona, I've not been able to scale things quite as much as what I would have liked.
Yeah.
But before tier 4 kicked in, I was making enough money to survive. So I'm really happy with that. I think I spoke about that last time we had a conversation. But
it's definitely come up before.
I'm just going to double down and just go, fuck it, man. Just rent a place and just see what happens, man.
This is it. If you're taking steps towards your own happiness, then, you know what I mean, there's going to be moments where circumstance, asks you to causes you to ask questions about it and stuff like that. But, you know what I mean, if it's been working for you up until the questions were asked, why no double down and why no stick with it and see it through? You know what I mean?
That's it, mate. Just self-doubt, you know what I mean?
Big time. I really need to talk to me about that this week.
But aye, man, that's my wee update on my last couple of weeks, other than just the texts that go backwards and forwards. Obviously, we don't go too deep on text messages. It's been mainly first sort of subject I've got in my list is, I know that we don't want to be a football podcast, but honestly, like a lot of the sources
we've been texting back and forth for the last fortnight has been fuck's sake Celtic, and
a lot of the source of my unhappiness in the last couple of weeks has been Neil Lennon. So I'm going to use a bit of an opportunity just to have a vent and have maybe an in-depth conversation that isn't pure, how is he in a fucking still in a job right now?
Like, what the fuck, mate?
It's every Celtic game that text message gets sent, like, what the fuck is going on? Did you see the statement for the board?
Weeks. I did. I mean, in my view, like, there is never, I can't think of another football manager, not even just with Celtic, but like anywhere, who was in more obvious need of getting binned. And that's maybe a bit harsh. I love the guy. He's got a great track record with us, but he's now moving into territory by digging his heels in. He is starting to sully that sort of affection. But certainly in some sections of the support, like the board, I mean, they should have acted at the international break, and they should have just taken that 2 weeks to reset and try and start to build a bit of momentum, knowing that there was no expectation on things like the Europa League games and stuff like that. But they've blown the opportunity to do all that now, and they're left with no other option but to double down, because they've dug their heels in because they didn't want SBC to be given into protest, and then a week later there's more protests. So I mean, they can't, the week after turn around and go, do you know what, guys, these are right. Well, they could, but they won't. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I was going to say. They could do that. I would just think, like, where's the line? Like, where's the line where it becomes a decision that's been made because of a protest and a decision that's been made because you've got somebody that's actually failing? If you look at it like performance management wise, any other job in the world, you would have got fucking parked. You would have been sacked. And I think that in the modern game, people don't leave their jobs. That's why we've got this whole 12-month rolling contract trend that's happening, because people don't leave. When I think back a bit, like, historically, who are the guys that have in that position, this position, same as Neil Lennon? I can only really think of guys like Jock Stein, Billy McNeil gets sacked. These guys are probably real, like we're saying, like, kind of the same sort of person as Lennon, in the sense that they're real Celtic men. So I can kind of understand with Neil Lennon's, I'm a Celtic man and I'm confident in my own ability, so I'm never going to walk away. And if you add in the modern football thing where everybody's just waiting for their payout anyway, I mean, what was he getting, a couple of mil a year? Why anybody in their right mind? But the negligence for me totally comes for the board level, where they should be putting him out his fucking misery here.
Aye, they've made themselves a target now as well. When you see people putting Sack the Bob banners up, I mean, heaven knows what the state of the stadium would be had fans been allowed in it. I mean, I don't know if they'd have been allowed to get this far had fans been actually screaming their heads off for the last 6 weeks in the stadium. But here we are. You know what I mean? Like, I think doubling down, I think, you know, looking back on comments like we gave him the job in the dressing room showers at the Scottish Cup final and stuff like that. We had a drawer full of applications. We didn't even look at all that type of chat. Just looks like negligent now. You know what I mean? Like, if you're talking about it, feel like their responsibilities as members of the board, but you know, the controlling stakes and the voting patterns that are in place gave them a bit of cover. You know what I mean?
I mean, mate, honestly, I don't know how much longer this can go on. I think that we're in real danger of losing this cup final, and I don't care if people like it's Hearts and they're a championship team. Like, it's been so many years. I think possibly Tony Mowbray, which was 2010, since I've actually went into a game thinking we're not going to win this. Just sort of like
smell blood in the water. But you're sitting watching. I was watching the Hibs coverage, and the Hibs TV commentary guys were doing it because it was their pay-per-view thing, and like it was quite weird to hear like Hibs TV guys being like pure. These guys are shaky. This is the day we can get after them. Like talking with a level of like confidence in their ability to actually get a result. And that's not to say there's no other been times where they were confident of getting results against us. It's just that you're looking at the St Johnstone team at the weekend. They're starting with 3 up front. Like teams smell blood in the water, and they're going to come after us. And is there a bigger scalp this year than Celtic? And they're all queuing up to be the ones that stop the 10. You know, whoever it happens to be. Like there's so much incentive out with all that already that. Us also being shite at that time doesn't help anybody, and we've been rank rotten. You know what I mean? Like it's been copy and paste. I feel like I've watched the same game like 9 times in a row. You know what I mean? Like,
And I think personally that when a manager starts in a football team, there is only one way, really, and like history to show you what you need to do, and it's you need to change things. I mean, I can't believe these went back to 3-5. It's like. We're going running like a wee merry-go-round. Like this won't. If the 3-5-2 doesn't work this weekend, we're going to go back to 4-3-3, and then if that doesn't work after a couple of weeks, he's going to move it back to 3-5-2. I don't know what's going on, man. Genuinely,
I don't think he does either.
I think that's the problem. Now, there's been tons of talk about like when a guy doesn't get to bring in his own backroom staff, and guys like Kennedy and Stratton and Duff have been boardroom choices. I think there was chat that Duff was Kennedy's choice because him and Kennedy did their pro badges together, and
quite possibly.
So, in that sort of regard, I think genuinely, like the mismanagement of this football team is hanging a legend out to dry.
Aye, I mean that is kind of what they're doing. They've tried to stick by him. They've went the wrong way about it. They've made him a scapegoat, and now, you know, they're going to have to hide behind him. I mean, their fates are now like indelibly tied to each other. Like I was saying last night on Twitter that when you go bunker mentality with your own support as the board and management, and you know, if we're to believe what we're being told, the players they're all you know one on this, even though obviously it doesn't look like it. You go bunker mentality with your fans, it's all or nothing. Like you need to come back with the trophies that we'd require, or else everybody needs to go because you doubled and tripled down on this guy when everybody could see that it was over. You know what I mean? Like, so if things go the way the majority think it's going to go this season, then every single last one of them should be done. Like from board all the way down. You know what I mean? Like, you can't dig in the way they've dug in and survive it if it doesn't bring the results that they tell us it's going to bring.
Aye, man. I just don't. I've resigned myself to the league's done. I don't think that we've got.
This weekend, I was probably the same.
Aye, I think like I was saying to somebody who was talking to them about it. It was like, well, obviously you're not going to give up all hope. You're going to think, look, well, if we have a couple of good, I don't see it happening, but if we have a performance, like a decent performance, they drop some points somewhere, and we're like, right, we could get ourselves back into it at the end of the day. But I just don't see it happening, man. And like you're saying, even that game at the weekend, every week it's the same post-match interview. I need a good performance. I'm hoping to get it. what are you doing to try and get it? They're just, nothing has changed.
Playing about with players' lounges. Well, it's we've done the feng shui, at the training ground, and
really,
it was like a lot of these players don't know each other yet, and COVID has meant with social distancing and blah blah blah. So we're trying to put together a space for them in the training ground where they can socialise and social distance. And you're like, hold on, we've got 4 players we signed this summer everybody else has been there at least a year. How do they know each other? You know what I mean? So there was sports psychologists. As I say, there's been 100 different formations. There's been 100 different lineups. I mean, one thing I'll give Lenny credit for is that he has clearly tried absolutely everything that he can think to try to turn it around. Like, there is no doubt whatsoever that he has tried every single batshit idea that has crossed him or his coach's minds, but none of them have worked. You know what I mean? So, at which point do you go, right, man? Let's just call this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think people making comparison about the first spell and look like some of the guys that are still backing him. Look at his record in the first spell. It's like almost try to compare apples and oranges, man. He had like a five-man backroom staff of people that he brought in, and now it's just him. And it's like, if you've ever seen the Damned United or know anything about Brian Clough, it's like a sort of cocktail of what works. And you'll know that yourself for a workplace. You couldn't build a team in a workplace that worked really, really well and then take the guy that just so happens to be the figurehead and put him into another place and expect him to do the same job, because if any team's worth its salt, everybody's got its part to play. So I'm scunnered, mate. I'm absolutely fucking scunnered. Like,
I think resigned is the word. When you said that you're resigned, that's kind of where I've been the last few weeks, where I've came to this almost like nihilistic acceptance rate, where I'm like watching the games on a Sunday and a Thursday just as an act of pure self-harm. So I'm like, you know what I mean?
Aye, man. Like, again, if we go back to what we were saying earlier on, mate, absolute negligence at this football club. And I think that's probably been one of the reasons why Brendan Rodgers has just fucked off.
Well, I mean, Lenny pretty much cited that as the reason he left the first time. You know what I mean? So not a lot's changed in 10 years. You know what I mean? It's just that we've been just above the rest to the extent required. You know what I mean? I think that's a wee bit less true in the last sort of 3 or 4 years where we have cruised. But I mean, all things come to an end. There is a natural feel to, having maybe achieved the 10 and then starting to see the team and the coaching staff in the boardroom break up and, fresh blood to come in. But looks as though we're being forced to consider it maybe like 6 months earlier than we probably would have in the first place. You know what I mean?
It's a shame, man. Positives, Celtic trust thing.
Aye.
Fans mobilising. Talkie, try to take ownership of the club back. Like, I am all up for that. And as much as we've parked our season tickets, and you in the last couple of years, me in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, due to like sort of different things, I would be well up for even low level investment in some sort of trust.
Aye, definitely.
Because I think it's about time.
Models that go out around Europe as well. This is all stuff we need to be looking at as we go forward. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't see any positives in it, but I'm fairly glum most of the time anyway, so that's probably not that much a surprise.
I'm doing my best Alan Stubbs impersonation, try to fucking polish a top deal.
It's like, no, you did a terrible Stubbs impersonation because I understood every word that you said.
Oh, poor Alan Stubbs, man. Stubbsy. Anyway, will we move on for fucking depression at Celtic, mate?
Aye. I think something that's no depressing was seeing some of the first vaccines getting administered today. The England and Scotland had their first COVID vaccinations, and I got a wee chuckle at the 40s, to be honest with you, because they were clearly just, Anne Anderson, who was at the top of the register, who was sat in the wee chair and got a jab after the nurse. But the tweets and like the kind of coverage that came alongside it was talking about them like, this is Anne, the first in British history to be, as if she were like a national hero, and it's just like some wee wifey who has went to the GP or the hospital that day for, what she sees is basically a flu jab. So it's nice to see it, but I think maybe some of the coverage was tiny wee bit OTT, but at the same time, I think 2020 has left us that desperate for a win that can't really complain too much about it, but I did find it quite funny.
We're going to end up seeing Anno in a fucking Tory campaign, or her and Matt Hancock
put
being
on a coin.
A commemorative coin. This commemorative coin. It was feeling a bit sort of like, and even when it was announced and there was a lot of sort of MPs and government officials and that coming out going, this is it, like we've beat it. Mm-hmm. And I was almost like, we need to calm down a bit here. Like, I'm going to go and take it first opportunity, right? Because I want it to work, and I hope it does. So, but that whole like, this is it, we've done it, and the first ones are getting rolled out. It is kind of like we need to get as many people to take it as possible, which I think one's going to be a very big challenge, because there's quite a lot of people that are just going to point blank refuse to take it, and then we've got to hope that it fucking works. I
mean, the tests from a number of sources all seem pretty positive in terms of like this RNA approach that they've used for it. Long-term effects is probably the only current major concern for me, is that there has been testing, peer review, and all the various other steps, but there's been sort of no long-term observation just because of the nature of how quickly it has to be rolled out. It won't be what stops me, because the people who are working on these things, as far as I'm concerned, know enough to know that they don't anticipate long-term effects and whatever else. So I'm happy to trust it. But there is a worrying amount of folk who have, disconnected and, live in their wee fiction that we've discussed before in the past, that disconnect between the fact and fiction of what's actually going on. I found it quite funny, like in terms of the Brexit angle for it, like the way that the Tories were talking as if this was it.
This was a triumph for Brexit.
This triumphalism that they were kind of hitting out with during the week about how the UK would be the first to administer it, and it's because of Brexit and blah blah blah. And you're like, in actual fact, like, I think I read it was like, is it Another Angry Voice or something like that, the feed, where they were talking about how the fact that the EU's vaccine regulator was actually in London, but as a result of like Brexit, it's now moved to Holland. And you're like, so Brexit actually stopped the vaccine from being discovered and made in the UK. And that in itself, I think, could have been something that they went, yes, we come up with this vaccine and it's now being rolled out. But in actual fact, their political ideology meant that it was actually Dutch people that are largely responsible for the vaccine that will be taken. So it was the exact opposite.
So how come Britain was the first? I mean, as much as like I see the broad news, I don't get as much a chance.
I think they just okayed it first.
That's what it was. It was because the EU. So the reason that Britain, I did see this. The reason that Britain got it first was because I had to go through a 72-hour EU regulation thing, and that meant that we got it 3 or 4 days before. But like you're saying, it's almost been championed as like a triumph for Brexit. Like, it's ridiculous.
I mean, there's big talks happening today. The UK, apparently, there's reports coming out of Brussels that the UK has stepped down on the internal market bill, the things that were, the Northern Ireland backstop and, various other, acts that, parts of the act that looked like they were going to be illegal internationally have seemed to have been sort of given up. But then I don't know if they were maybe like a straw man in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, so they're in the midst of like what are supposed to be the final negotiation. We're supposed to leave on the 31st of December. So we've got rid of one nationwide catastrophe, just in
potentially
time to kick off another. Just right. Well, okay, your turn.
I wonder if any of the sort of trade borders that could potentially come in will stop the vaccine for getting in, as we're like trying to get more and more of it in.
That's one of the concerns long term about, sort of future batches and stuff like that, is that increased red tape or increased tariffs might result in delays, border checks and so on and so forth. As you say, you've seen the massive truck car park that's getting built in whatever it is, the area around Kent, that's it. They're basically like steamrolling the England's green and pleasant land and building a lorry park. You know what I mean? So,
for what?
Brilliant.
For what reason?
Because they expect lorries to park up there whilst they process them. There's going to be so many of them that they have to essentially concrete our, one corner of the country to make space for them all.
For fuck's sake.
This is the kind of disaster that they're talking about. They're planning for, but the chat has been completely disconnected. And again, it's that thing where, this government has been guilty multiple times of encouraging that disconnection between fact and fiction, never mind in their rhetoric versus their planning, whether it be, taking credit for shit that went somewhere else directly as a result of their actions. It just, you could be here all day stacking up.
Aye, absolutely. Did you see
the Brexit's another one?
I mean, the last I heard, they had an oven-ready deal. That was the last sort of sound bites that I heard, but clearly it's been fucking needed defrosted before they fucking stick it in the oven. But it's a shambles. I think
Johnson actually said the day that anybody who took his comments as an oven-ready deal as an oven-ready trade deal or woefully misrepresent them. So he's now trying to roll it back, saying that when he talked about an oven-ready deal, he wasn't talking about a trade deal. No, but he's not said what he was actually talking about. Just that he wasn't at that point talking about the trade deal that everybody was questioning him about. So, he's even trying to roll that back now very badly.
Wow, mental, absolutely mental. Did you see the Matt Hancock this morning on Good Morning Britain? Like,
trying to kid on that he felt human emotion.
Oh my god! It was literally the most cringe-worthy TV that I've ever seen in my life. I couldn't tell. See, before they were saying, like, is that upsetting? I thought he was laughing.
This is the thing. I kind of was like, it was almost as if he tried to squeeze out a greet and then was laughing at how badly Rangy got it. You know what I mean? Like
a blooper reel, but live on fucking news.
I broke there. Can we go again?
I'm pretty sure, see if you went into his phone, checked his Google history, his internet history, probably Googled how to show human emotion, or like some sort of watched a YouTube video on how to try and make yourself cry, like pinch the inside of your leg or something stupid shit like that. Leading up to that, man. But that's just pathetic. But when it comes to him in particular, I've just got no surprises left on me. He's an absolute fuck nugget.
Maybe that is one of the very few times in his life where he actually felt something close to human emotion, and his body has just known how to process it. You know what I mean? Because that's something that he can't have really experienced a lot in his life. You know what I mean? So maybe that's what Matt Hancock crying actually looks like. You know what I mean? Like,
I'd hate to see what his cry wanks are like.
It would be brilliant if it was. You know what I mean? Like every time he got emotional, he just looked that ridiculous.
I know, man. It's just, but it was literally like a pure watching a robot or something. It was pure. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. It
does not compute.
Definitely. What about yourself? What you want to talk about?
I don't know, man. Have you seen these monoliths?
No, what's that?
So, have you ever seen 2001: Space Odyssey? Right. So in that, there's these big monoliths, these black stone, almost like Stonehenge type structures, that appear, and as they investigate them, they open up kind of like a doorway to like another galaxy or another level of consciousness or something like that. And there's all these really trippy scenes, and it was quite cool at the time. You know what I mean?
Well, being a bit fucking taking acid or something.
Oh, big time. Stanley Kubrick, man. Now, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, one of the monolith basically appeared in the Utah desert, and somebody caught it on a helicopter flyover, and then people were out looking for it, and it had people taking pictures, selfies in front of this sort of Utah monolith, and then after a few days disappeared, and it just out of the desert. It just disappeared. I think a week later or so,
I'm googling this while you're talking.
It then popped up in California, somewhere in California, where a group of Christians essentially kicked it down, and removed it. And obviously there was people kind of oh, what is this? I think there was then another one somewhere else in California, Southern California. But there's also been one popped up in Romania, and one popped up yesterday on the Isle of Wight.
What the fuck is going on?
They're lasting there for a few days and then disappearing again. So at the time, I'd kind of passed a comment going, it's basically there's clearly some sort of viral marketing or whatever it is, and some mad artist collective have subsequently came out, and the unknown artist or something, and they're kind of admitting to the fact that it was them, and essentially they were just trolling cunts for money, essentially. Because
fuck off.
They sold a replica monolith to somebody for $45,000. So they're now putting these monoliths up on their websites. But there was like a week where, there was a serious amount of people being like, and myself included, being like, well, I get that this is like 99% viral marketing, but there's that 1%, and that just,
like,
imagery for 2001 where I was like, oh my God, this does make me slightly uncomfortable. But these are the guys that turned to Hollywood, sign into Hollywood and stuff like that. They're like shock, like stunt artists.
Right. I get it.
It's basically all been a con job to sell sheets of metal for 45 grand.
That's sickening. I was just pure booking my flight to California to walk through the monolith, like pure, yes. But mate, I was getting excited there. I was pure, what the fuck's going on here? Because there's been the whole propulsion shit. Have you seen where they've released statements for naval officers that have seen this craft? So they've got the Tic Tac. I'm sure we've spoke about this before.
like unacknowledged and stuff like that.
So there's new sightings that's been, and apparently there's a naval officer took an iPhone image while it was like sort of floating above a naval vessel in America, and the government have confiscated his phone and they're not releasing the images. So it'll be interesting to see if they come out. Because I want to fucking see this thing. The videos there are like insane. They're fucking insane. I think pretty much moves at lightning speed without even like expelling any energy or any heat off the fucking thing. It just moves. Like it just moves. So I really, really want to see this, but also I'm kind of like, why are they distracting us? What's really going on here? Like, I don't doubt that this fucking thing exists. I don't doubt that they've got the fucking technology and they maybe got it in Nazi Germany or got it off the Russians or something like that. I don't think it's alien craft. I think that they've got some sort of advanced technology, but they're just sort of drip feeding it out to us as like until Space Force properly launches.
So this
is
like kind of the, presupposition of that unacknowledged sort of documentary where the naval officers and previous guys feel like the NSA and stuff have formed this committee. So for some reason with the guy for Blink-182, which makes total sense to have like an entire room full of intelligence services personnel and the dude for Blink-182 investigating aliens.
He owns a company or something, doesn't he? Like Tom DeLonge owns.
He's like a hobbyist that's went pro or whatever, and like that was framed in the kind of like the terms that you've just described, where they've said, look, we don't know what this shit is, but it's here, there's evidence there, and it could potentially be a national security threat to every country that experiences it. And like that is probably not an unreasonable thought process. There was one of the guys involved, he's quite a skinny guy with glasses, quite a sharp nose, kind of bald, and I can't remember his name. But I was skirting through Amazon the other week there, and like a documentary specific to this guy came on, and it was called like Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And it took this reasonable argument that, we don't know what it is. We're not going to speculate. We're not going to whatever. And he took it to the extent that we're already like actively communicating with alien species. Not that. So like the veneer of like credibility that unacknowledged has kind of took a bit of a hit for me, because some of the people involved in it, other than the guy for Blink-182, are clearly fucking crackpots. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure, dude. Like, I think back when Unacknowledged came out, I think we maybe spoke about it for like 5 minutes, and I was like, you need to watch it. And then we were like, we'll maybe do a wee bit about it. And then when I looked into that guy, I was like, oh man, he's just a crackpot. Like, he's come away with pure all sorts. So his Netflix documentary seems very reasonable. It's almost like a lot of these dudes, Jordan Peterson, where it's like,
Rogan, when they've been on like Joe Rogan or whatever, they look original, but they've held themselves together quite well there, you know what I mean? Like,
but I think the real dude, like the real guy, that isn't the crackpot, isn't that Dr. whatever, David something, I think that guy's name isn't unacknowledged. Right. The other dude who's Bob Lazar, I think his is more credible, where he's the dude that worked at Area 51, is it Area 58 or something like that, which is like the one in the mountain that is, I think, the CIA like just went, oh yeah, aye, that's real. And that just kind of like petered into the ether where you're kind of like, wait a minute. But these guys that have been kicking about like Yellowstone Park, that have been basically being told that they're batshit crazy. And you're like, there's a good proportion of this is real. And I think like this is actually like feeding a lot of the sort of COVID hysteria and anti-vax shit that we're seeing, where if you go into the sort of conspiracy thing, 80% of it's real.
Or at least plausible,
There's this 20% or like 80% of the sort of batshit crazy ideas historically have been kind of come out and went, oh, that's kind of true. There's this 20% caveat that's pure stupid extreme, which is what people are sort of attaching themselves to, like including like the QAnon shit that we spoke about before. But the sort of level of anti-vax stuff that I've seen recently, and it might just be Twitter, it might not be real life, so we need to wait and see what percentage of people actually take the vaccine, has been fucking mental. But I'm like, as I was saying, like the Bob Lazar stuff, his stuff's actually like crazy. He's the most credible I've seen. He spoke about an element in the 80s that officially get put in the periodic scale in like 1999 or 2001, and when he was talking about this element, there was people going, this is lunacy, this guy's mental, there's no record of him ever working for the government, whatever, blah blah blah. And it's come out again in like subsequent years, like, he did work for the government, he did work in this place. You're like, for fuck's sake. So I've got no doubt that they've got this crazy fucking technology, man.
They've definitely got some stuff that's out there probably beyond our understanding at the minute, but whether that proves aliens or no, I don't know. And it's certain, the monoliths certainly don't prove aliens, because it was some fucking hipster for LA, you know what I mean?
That's so disappointing. Did you see the tweet? Was it L Night? But what fucking oh man, I thought they have it. The Arizona GOP were tweeting L Night. They subtweeted a guy and it said, I'm willing to give my life for this fight. And they were like, he is, are you, ? And then the second tweet came out where it was, this is what we do, who we are, live for nothing or die for something, in an American flag. And it's basically like guys calling for like revolution in America, like official Twitter feeds though. It's not like some sort of like mad guy that's like, we should actually like turn to violence here, but official Twitter feeds of the fucking Republican Party in America are actually like, we're going to fight this like physically.
It's the tip of the iceberg, mate. I mean, the last week in American public politics has been probably, I think it actually gets a wee bit scarier the closer we get to, the deadline of Trump getting punted out on his arse. The stuff that we were talking about, where there was pressure going to be put on legislators to actually turn round their states' votes, is exactly where we now are. This is something that we spoke about, the week after the election, is that they can't win in court because it's nonsense. So the only thing they can do is put pressure on people at a local level to turn things around. Now, Trump has been phoning like the governors and the electoral, organisers in like 3 or 4 different states personally. Like he himself has been phoning them going, I need you to basically ignore the will of your people and like re-elect people who will, on the 14th of December, come and vote for Trump instead of what the sort of standard convention is. And they're all saying we're now past the legal point where we can even like do that. Like if we tried to do that, it would be overturned in court. And like all the judges that Trump's appointed, a number of I think he's went 40 cases and won one. And the one that he won was the one where it was just that they weren't standing close enough to where they were told they could stand.
Right.
And his judges have actually been heavily involved in turning them down. So to think that he can put this pressure on legislators to now take illegal steps and still get by the judges that have already knocked him back it's crazy. But these people now find themselves doxed. So, there's people outside their houses protesting. There's armed people, there's threats of sexual violence. There's threats of physical violence. People were pouring out of Trump rallies on Saturday and travelling to the house of local election officials in crowds to protest outside their houses. And
their democracy's fucked, mate. It's gone.
It's frightening.
The very little democracy that they had. Do you know what I mean? Because we know it's all fucking rigged anyway, pretty much. It's finished. I think. I don't really see this type of shit's going to change a lot. I think I think you're right what you just said there, man. This is the tip of the iceberg, and I'm worried about where this is going to go.
Did you see the witness that Giuliani presented to the hearing midweek? So he took a supposed witness to election fraud into this official hearing with senators, congressmen, whatever it was, put her in front of international TV, and like this woman, like no harm to her, like she was the world's drunkest Karen. So she was like, well, you need to look this video up. Like Giuliani's drunk Karen will be like pure result number one, and she basically just slurs her way through 20 minutes of like Trump's accusations, and like I felt bad for her to an extent because she's there talking at a congressional or a senatorial hearing. This is where we are, is that they think that these are the types of antics that are going to force people into changing elections, and it's still all based on bullshit. And that's before we even get to the fact that Giuliani, his main lawyer, is now rocked up in hospital with COVID. You know what I mean?
I'd just seen there that he's actually in hospital. The last time I had seen it was he just got it and he was saying he feels good. And you're like, right, okay. It's seen the footage of him trying to encourage somebody at the hearing to take their mask off.
Right.
Like, like maybe you should have kept yours on your dick. I'm looking at this video and it looks like it looks like some kind of Saturday Night Live.
It looks like a sketch. It does. It looks like somebody's done a sketch here. But it's that's like legit. That is what he took into, that hearing, was this woman who just was so incoherent that she was like, how many of this and how many of that? And the guy who's asking the questions is just like, but that's not how it works. This evidence is not there because you would never find it there, or you would never see this here. And like, just it's such a twisted narrative that I'm like, I don't know how anybody could have met this woman in person and thought that it would be a good idea to put her in front of like an investigative body like that, or towards the scrutiny of the entire media. You know what I mean?
How Giuliani's went for like breaking up the mafia in the 70s, and he must have been an intelligent man. Do you know what I mean? Like, he must have. There's no way that
I think he was intelligent enough to take the credit for that when somebody else did the work, I'm pretty sure.
Right, okay.
But he is credited with it.
All right, okay. So he's just he's right. So he's just a scumbag then. It's no.
I think he always has been.
Right, because I was thinking, like, how could you go for like that level to where he is right now? Like, siding with a fucking, unless power's just corrupted and he's just got such an inflated sense of himself during the sort of 9/11 stuff and like that.
It was extremely well thought across the world during all that, just because he actually was able to like express a modicum of human dignity, you know what I mean? But I think the only other thing that kind of jumped out at me in the last week or so was the SNP NEC elections. Obviously, we have previously had guests such as Mary Black and Out for Indy. Where colours are to the mast on how we think people should be treated in that respect. But it seems as though there's at least sizable proportion of the SNP in terms of their party membership that have at least, let's say, reservations about some of them. I don't know what the election of the people to their national executive committee is going to mean for the overall direction of the party. It seems as though there'll definitely be more of a focus of speeding up the process to try and trigger independence referenda. A lot of people have got concerns about where GRA and stuff like that stand now. We'll have to wait and see. The thing that kind of like struck me was like how gammony some of the responses were. So like it's probably one of the first times that I've looked at kind of like indie or sort of SNP commentary, whether it be online or elsewhere, and seeing folk that instantly made me think about the term tartan Tory. You know what I mean? Like we think about the SNP and the Yes movement as progressive, and there are elements that clearly want that to be the case, but there is also what is now at least a sizable sort of noisy proportion of the SNP who have this like anti-woke agenda, and it baffles me. That one is like why somebody would feel uncomfortable by just acknowledging that other people have equal rights to the things that we have. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's so scary about that is that, but some of the comments I was very like, Jesus fuck man, there is like some serious gammon flow in the SNP at this point, which was the first time I've ever clocked it, really.
I don't get the motivation behind it. I don't know if it's like a political move or a personal move. If the only thing that I could imagine it being, if it being a political move, is that they're trying to, I don't know, they're maybe trying to like take some of the right. I just don't get it, mate. Like, other than it being just a personal agenda. Like,
well, I mean, it's what's most readily up for debate by the looks of things. As I say, I have a very broad strokes understanding for the sort of tangents that we've touched on. But I mean, all I was really conscious of during this was that there was a really vocal, like really, as you say, kind of like right-wing element that seemed to rear its head that I had never acknowledged myself. I mean, there has been right-wing, or at least vaguely right-wing policy, but I've never really seen it in the SNP supporting. Like, this change in the NEC seems to have given voice to, and again, like you say, it might be like a Twitter versus real life thing where, you know, their noise has been amplified to a magnitude that isn't maybe relevant in real life, and I think that's probably the case. But at the same time, it's the first time I've ever looked at the SNP as a non-party member and thought to myself, oof, man, you've got a real section of that party that's for the watching, man.
Where does the First Minister sort of sit with it?
I think she's just tried to stay out it. I think the whole thing at the minute seems to be so toxic that, you know, she can't really say anything without being seen to be scared of Joanna Cherry. You know what I mean? Like, it's clear with certain moves in terms of like where she wants to stone and, you know, her influence and, you know, these NEC changes and stuff like that, that she is angling to be at some point in the future, you know, the SNP leader. And I don't think Nicola Sturgeon can really come out forward against either, you know, anything that she's actively involved in without being either seen to be trying to cut the knees out from underneath her or being terrified of her. So she's just leaving her alone by the looks of it.
So a bit of sort of self-preservation, I suppose.
Maybe, or that just
isn't it great? Because I've always felt that the First Minister hasn't been that sort of right-wing or the more sort of centre-right of the SNP that does exist. Because like you're saying, we think when we think about the SNP, we think about the Yes movement. When I think about the Yes movement, exactly what you just said earlier, it's a very progressive movement. But I think in its roots, like you're saying, like the SNP were the Tartan Tories. They did have quite a right wing, and it's been moved further and further to the left. I think I don't know, Scotland has moved that way, like because I don't know if you could ever survive in this country being a right winger. And you know what I mean?
I think the biggest irony is that a lot of the people who are mirroring these right wing attitudes to policy are doing so at a time when the things that even like Cherry and that are talking about aren't exactly right wing in themselves. You know what I mean? Like, it's quite an odd juxtaposition. They've just went against wokeness rather than a particular element of the policy, and that's something that worries me. Is that there's folk out there who think just chilling the fuck out and letting people be who they want to be is somehow something wrong with the world. You know what I mean? Like, they've essentially the cornerstone at like every religion everywhere is like, just want to just chill the fuck out and stop being a dick. Let us all just go on with our lives. You know what I mean? Like, that's ultimately what we're talking about here.
Ultimately, like progressive, that sort of woke, what's been tagged as woke, is like a sort of fear of the left. It really is, and I don't know where or why people sort of fear it so much.
I think that fear of the left is something that is definitely prevalent. I mean, you look at guys like AOC, Bernie Sanders, Jeremy Corbyn being labelled as communists and sympathisers and blah, blah, blah. Even to the extent this week we had fucking, like, do you see the shit at Millwall? Like, just to kind of like maybe bring it back around full circle in the football, where their fans booed people taking a knee. And then some spokesman for like the Millwall whatever supporters association came out and tried to claim it was about standing up against Marxism. You know what I mean? So you're
this is exactly
that fear of the left again, where you're just like, no, what you're doing is you're hiding behind other people's fear of the left to justify your racism. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the same thing. You know what I mean? But it's good cover for racists these days.
I mean, see that pish about like sort of BLM being a fucking Marxist. I mean, we've covered this. We covered this with
BLM.
Aye, exactly. But I mean, is that do you feel like that is just a sort of excuse to be racist? It's people that
it's that kind of dog whistle effect. You know what I mean? Where the people perpetrating these acts of racism, these acts of homophobia, these acts of whatever that are now, you know, under the category of anti-wokeness, it's not about really that they're experiencing any of the fears that they're talking about. It's that they know other people experience these fears and they can use them to manipulate themselves into positions of authority, power, and influence. You know what I mean? And that's, that's what we've seen. And Johnson and Trump, and I don't know, maybe we're just seeing like a slightly refined version of it at a lower, a more Scottish level with something, you know what I mean? Like, but anti-wokeness is one of the ones where I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, all these examples within them, has that like anti-woke thing. And I don't think
absolutely.
that it is a mask to cover the manipulation of people and their fears for gain.
But to be like, we're booing Marxism at Millwall, like that level, try to claim that it's that level of political thinking en masse amongst the Millwall fans is just absolute bullshit to me.
No, and it's the same. You could probably apply the same, Occam's razor to every single one of the other examples that we've discussed. I mean, I'm reminded of the joke I seen the other day about the boy that was like, my parents went out and bought an AR-15 because they were terrified of Antifa. And, obviously this left-wing fear of the left in America is focused very much on Antifa and BLM and these types of people. And like, my parents went out and bought an AR-15 to protect themselves from Antifa. And what they don't realise is that Antifa's got his head in their fridge right now, emptying their, macaroni cheese or whatever. And, their idea that Antifa is somebody that they need to protect their history, when actually just being anti-fascist is, who their actual son is, standing next to them in the next room. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's divide and conquer again, isn't it?
It feels like a generational clash, but the older ideas are managing to like get its supporters and young people. Do you know what I mean? I think that's mainly because it's unpopular. So you do get like an element of people that just want to sort of stand out and just want to be like, oh, look, I don't believe what the majority of people believes, is try to be like sort of controversial. But it does feel like a very sort of generational thing. And that's a hilarious sort of anecdote that somebody's bought a gun to protect himself for an idea. Exactly. The idea of being anti-fascist, do you know what I mean? But Antifa's funded by George Soros, and it's Bill Gates. It just, do you know what's hilarious? It's the same people that talk that bullshit that are the anti-vaxxers that don't believe that coronavirus is a real thing. It's almost the confusion in it. It's like a mental illness. That feels like a mental illness to me.
It's that mixing of feelings and facts that we spoke about, or we've spoke about like at several points through the course of the day, is that one of the topics we've went on the day has had an element where people are prioritising their own feelings over what's actually happening. Trump supporters feel like an election was stole. Brexit supporters feel like they were responsible for X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Like, people who are classed as homophobes and whatever else in certain terms feel like they're getting hard done by because they feel like they should be allowed to hate people. Like, it's madness that probably we need to get a grip of. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Did you see? Was it Brazil are planning to tax like anybody that in Brazil that's got any assets worth more, like personal cash assets worth more than $5 million are going to get a 1% crisis tax.
Okay.
To try and help with like COVID-19. I think there's probably a couple of like South American. I think there was 12,000 people will be impacted. So we've got 12,000 people in the country that have got cash assets worth more than $5 million US. So that's a lot. There's a lot in their country, and they'll be getting a 1% crisis tax. And I'd seen a statistic that said that if the UK did it, they would raise 20 billion, and only if they did it on the top 1% earners. So it's not even the same as like quantifying it by a number the way that Brazil has, because it would just be the top 1% earners. If you put a 1% tax on them, the overall tax gains would be £20 billion.
Which seems a lot of money, but I don't know that it is in governmental terms.
I mean, it isn't, but it just shows you like the amount of sort of...
The fight for 2 months of furlough.
Aye, exactly. Just to try... I mean, it doesn't fix anything, but it just shows you like what could be achieved if you fucking actually like did it right. I mean, along with like taxes like that, if you did stuff like fucking scrap Trident, stop fucking bombing the Middle East, like we could definitely try and get some fucking traction on the disaster that's going to come out the other side of this. I mean, I genuinely don't know what kind of like economic employment, like what's going to happen after this. This has went on way longer than what either of the two of us were talking about back when we were like, maybe we could see a positive thing coming out the other side, but it just looks kind of like disaster awaits us.
It's going to be austerity 2.0. You know, the notion that you're hearing a lot of arguments about the house's credit card has run out and all the rest of it, and you're like, most houses don't print their own money. So obviously the analogies are pretty flawed, but they're obviously their way the language that people are going to relate to their everyday lives, even though the actual theory and the reality behind it is just nonsensical. But if it's this government, we're going to get hammered because that's what they do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They'll say, well, we're there for you when it counted. You know, no, it always counts. Like, your government has to be there for you at all times, not just like, you know, every couple of years when something kicks off.
When it impacts,
I think they disagree on that.
When it impacts them and their mates, the magic money tree is just there with an abundance. But when it's no impacting, and in fact, if they do austerity, it means they'll gain, then they're going to fucking hit you with it. They're going to fucking smack you with it, square in the fucking chops, man.
Definitely.
What have you been
passing?
Well, what I was going to say was,
have you been passing time outside of
what have you been watching? I've actually been playing Call of Duty Warzone the last since the start of this tier 4. I thought, do you know what? I'm going to pay whatever it is, £8, $7.99, and get the online PlayStation Network back up and running. And me and Dan have been just sitting playing Call of Duty, so it's been pretty good. I'm fucking shite at it, but ultimately shite at it.
Honking at it. My Stacey's ridiculous. She'll have a shout. I've actually laid off a game in a wee bit. I'd kind of like been getting up days at a time to like Red Dead Redemption, so I had to like stop myself and break it up a wee bit. I made the mistake of watching Tenet last night, which was was just Tenet. So the new Christopher Nolan movie. So it's basically like an hour and a quarter movie that you have to watch twice, and essentially one of the times that you were forced to watch it, it's all happening backwards and it's all intermingled. It's like it's taking the Inception, you know, trippiness and tried to push it to another level, and what it's done is make a completely unwatchable movie. It's horrendous. Like, there's like 3 or 4 like exposition scenes during it where it's so the only chance I had was that I'd actually been watching some like documentaries last week on, of all things, like quantum physics and like quantum entanglement, and I went down a wee rabbit hole with that, with all the BBC4 stuff, and like, so there was like elements of like inertia and stuff like that I was like, oh shit, I learned about inertia last week, like cool. And then like after about 45 minutes where they've really, you know, teased out what's happening and finally get to telling you what's happening, you're like, cool, there's an explanation scene, there's an action scene, then there's an explanation scene about what's changed since the last explanation scene, then there's like an action scene, and then like I'm like 2 hours in and I'm like, this is like the 4th time they've like tried to use the dialogue to explain to me what the fuck is happening here, and even I've completely lost all thread about what is going on in this movie. So
it's just unwatchable?
I would say so. I mean, there's a bit where they kind of like, just one of the explanation scenes is like, you know, you're being targeted for the future, so it's like kind of future versus past thing, but everybody who comes back for the future experiences time backwards and vice versa, and like, so there's like war scenes where some people are fighting each other in forward motion, some people are fighting each other in like reverse, and like it's just a mess. So it's just like completely impossible to follow it, and there's 10 different versions of them all experiencing different parts of the movie timeline simultaneously, and just it just gives absolute batshit. I mean, I'd
quite imagine that.
Just make movies that you can watch once and get. Like, people have been doing it since forever. Like, I don't want to sit and watch something that I need to go to the cinema 4 times to actually be like, oh, right, okay. You know what I mean?
You've got to imagine that as difficult a watch that would be, it would probably be equally as difficult to make it. But then, like, you don't really, I think when it comes to things like movies, music, all that type of stuff, creativity, writing, painting, maybe no painting, but the less complex, usually the better the outcome at the other side. It sounds like he's just fucking like wanked at a fucking
He's went Tonto with
a film reel and just stuck up. There you go, man.
You know, the Interstellar thing where he's toyed with notions of like space and time and dimensions.
That was almost unwatchable for me, but it's like that type of thing where people say brilliance is just like, see the difference between something that's brilliant and something that's absolutely rank rotten is like a ball hair. And Interstellar, Interstellar was just that ball hair touch of genius where I was like, I'm almost losing this, and then I got it. I was like, "Oh my god, this is awesome!" But then it sounds like this one's just went pure a ball hair into fucking. Like,
so I thought Interstellar was watchable with that nice kind of like. But I mean, I thought Inception was the one that just went right up to the line, but just stayed on the right side of the line of being watchable. But this one just straight. Christopher Nolan just completely disappeared up his arse.
Right,
it was horrendous. But I'm sure we'll maybe get tweets disagreeing, but don't waste your time. I don't read them.
Okay, I'll stay away for that, mate. I'll stay away for that. Hey, maybe just wrap up, man.
Man, that's good. It's been good to catch up.
When's the next fucking dose of like self-harm? When Celtic's next game? Sunday?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm in for a dose of self-harm. I might just read my personal Twitter feed from time to time. You know what I mean? It's got the same kind of mental effect.
Staying away for it.
Gain myself the cat of nine tails, you know what I mean? Like,
I think that's why I got the PlayStation out, by the way, was because I was just being like, I'm staying away from my phone, I'll be honest. Like, try to stay away from my phone because Twitter's just an absolute fucking shit show. Got a lot of empathy for Rangers fans for the last while. You've had like Twitter supremacy. It doesn't feel good. But got to take it, haven't you? Got to just take it in the chin. But I'm just staying away from it.
I was avoiding it with Boardwalk Empire. I was enjoying that as quite a long piece of something to get into. But I've got to say, like, the one thing put me off that was like Steve Buscemi is a great actor, but like nobody needs Steve Buscemi sex scenes in their life. Like nobody anywhere is asking for Steve Buscemi sex scenes. So that was the one thing that kind of put me off that. But other than that, it's been good.
See, like fucking what a sex scene, right? Do you remember like when like, in a movie the sex scene would be like somebody goes up and like shuts a curtain and then it would be like the morning and that was like you were kind of like right cool like they had that right. Why does it need to be like you're saying like Steve Buscemi or just like why do we need to see it like it's just like pure pornographic like
there's one way like Michael Shannon as well and you're like again a great actor but, like I don't need to hear Michael Shannon's boss slapping against somebody. You know what I mean? Like, it's no need in my life. Like, but other than that criticism of Boardwalk Empire, like I'm very much enjoying that one. It's kind of taking me through like my cowboy obsession now up into like gangsters.
You're moving through history. You're moving through history.
Basically, like America has always been dominated by robbing violent bastards. Like, that's the only conclusion we can come for these.
Do you know what you should watch next? See when you move into the 60s hippie stage, you should watch Easy Rider.
Okay. I don't think I've ever actually seen that.
Oh, have you know? Fucking amazing. So. Deliverance. Like, you should go through, like, proper, like when movies were fucking great in that sort of, like, late 60s, early 70s, before fucking Schwarzenegger came and everything started to get, like, kind of ridiculous. There was definitely, like, a sort of a second golden age of the American cinema that happened in that sort of Robert Redford, Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid. You should maybe
my favourite movie of all time.
Move into something like that and just watch Enter the Dragon, like that type of fucking thing, man. I've just created a movie night for myself, mate. I'm going to go and watch fucking...
No, sure, I was doing that like movies I always meant to watch last year, but Easy Rider wasn't one of them, but pretty much I've seen every other movie that you mentioned. Like Butch Cassidy's my like favourite movie of all time, but at the same time, I can't go back to cowboy stuff. I need to stop. Well, I was like 4 episodes into Deadwood, and I was like, "This is becoming a bit of an obsession." No matter like,
have you watched? Oh fuck! Shit! There's a movie. Do you know what would be a fucking great genre of movies for you to go and watch, man? The driving movies, Smoking a Bandit, fucking like that type of shit, man. There's one. Horizon Point or something it's called. Vanishing Point. Oh my God, what a movie that is, mate. Wow. Yeah. Like, that would be a great category of movie. Easy Rider's one of them because they're on the bikes, so it's a driving movie. You could, in fact, mate, I'm going to watch some cool movies are the next we will. Stay away from Twitter. Right, mate, I'm going to bounce.
Man crush for Cowboys to Gangsters while you move into driving movies. We'll reconvene here in about 7 to 10 days, all right?
Aye, cool. Right, mate, I'm going to bounce.
No worries, mate. I'll catch you soon, all right?
I'll catch you later, mate. Right, bye-bye.
I made a promise to whom will not to you, so stop the party. I tried to reconcile a life I lived a while, just stop the party. Feeding lies like you'll never know. I don't need to be unhappy with a life to call my own. We'll end up burning bridges sat upon a selfish throne. I will march along this path of ambitious, forceful ties. I'll be dead before it crashes down before my eyes. I know we'll make it through smiles and trials of fire. We'll make the party. I see right through it, the great deceptive fade you call the party. Feeding lies like you'll never know. I don't need to be unhappy with a life to call my own. We'll end up burning bridges sat upon a selfish throne. I will march along this path of ambitious, forceful ties. I'll be dead before it crashes down before my eyes. There is a life I can see. Life is so predictable, it must be. There is no